IELTS Listening, Section 4. You will hear a lecturer giving a lecture about the role of desert vultures in ecosystems. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 36. Now we shall begin. You should answer the question as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer the questions.
Good morning, everyone. Today's lecture takes us into the harsh and often unforgiving world of arid landscapes, particularly deserts, but with a twist. Instead of focusing on plants or predators, we'll be looking at a creature that's equally vital yet often misunderstood: the desert vulture. This bird, often portrayed negatively in stories and films, is in reality one of the most essential components in maintaining ecological balance across desert biomes. Let's begin with their primary source of nutrition. Unlike birds of prey such as eagles or hawks that hunt live animals, vultures prefer their meals already expired. In fact, they rarely, if ever, kill their food. They rely on carcasses, that is, the remains of dead animals, often left behind by other predators or due to natural death. These remains, which might seem disgusting to us, are an absolute feast for vultures. Interestingly, vultures have such acute eyesight that they can spot potential meals from miles away while soaring in the sky. Now, one might wonder, isn't eating decomposing flesh dangerous? And you'd be right to think so. Decaying organic matter is often teeming with bacteria and dangerous microbes. But desert vultures possess an extraordinary adaptation that sets them apart. Their digestive systems are incredibly powerful. Their stomachs contain acids that can neutralize highly lethal microorganisms. This enables them to break down infected tissue that would otherwise be fatal to other creatures. This resistance allows them to ingest pathogens, which include bacteria and viruses, without becoming ill themselves. Scientists have even discovered that their gut flora is adapted specifically to handle toxic microbes. Physically, vultures have tools perfectly suited for their niche. One such adaptation is their beak. Their beaks are not just strong, but specially curved and reinforced to allow easy access to tough skin and muscle. These powerful beaks help them tear open carcasses that may have already begun to harden under the sun. Without this, even accessing the meat would be near impossible. But tearing is only half the job. They also use their talons or claws, not for capturing prey like eagles, but for holding slippery flesh in place or tearing it into manageable pieces. All of this has a broader environmental impact. By consuming animal remains, vultures prevent these dead bodies from rotting under the sun. Why is that important? Because decaying remains are breeding grounds for harmful bacteria and insects, including those that spread disease. In essence, vultures act as natural garbage disposers. Their role helps prevent outbreaks of illness in nearby animal populations and even reduces risks to human communities that live near wilderness zones.
Now you have half a minute to look at questions 37-40.
Let's shift to how they navigate vast landscapes. Deserts offer minimal food, so vultures must cover long distances. What gives them this advantage is their ability to ride invisible columns of warm air called currents. These thermals rise from the heated desert floor, and vultures, with their massive wingspans, can soar for hours using them. This energy-efficient flight style means they can scout huge areas without wasting much effort, especially useful in deserts, where food sources are scarce and scattered. Another visual trait worth noting is their appearance, more specifically, their heads. If you look closely at most vulture species, especially those adapted to desert life, you'll notice their heads are devoid of feathers. This isn't a random feature. It's a sanitary design. When vultures feed, they often bury their heads deep inside decomposing bodies. If feathers were present, they would trap blood, flesh, and microorganisms. The bald head instead helps prevent contamination and allows for easier cleaning post-feeding. Interestingly, vultures aren't entirely solitary. They often gather at feeding sites, and when multiple birds arrive, competition for food can get intense. But instead of resorting to violence, they often engage in subtle physical communications, or gestures, to assert dominance. These might include fluffing their feathers, hissing, or bobbing their heads in a specific rhythm. Through these signals, they determine hierarchy and feeding order. However, vultures are extremely sensitive to changes in their environment. Though they appear tough, they are particularly vulnerable to chemical exposure. A tragic example comes from South Asia, where thousands of vultures died due to diclofenac, a veterinary drug used in livestock. When vultures fed on treated carcasses, the drug poisoned them. These events showed how easily toxins in the food chain can devastate even large, resilient bird populations. This alarming decline has prompted various conservation efforts. Many countries have now banned dangerous veterinary drugs and launched reintroduction programs. These involve breeding vultures in controlled environments, away from pollutants and poachers, and then slowly releasing them back into the wild. While it's a slow process, it's showing signs of success. To conclude, desert vultures aren't just scavengers, they are ecosystem engineers. By consuming remains that others avoid, they reduce disease, balance the food web, and even serve as early warning systems for environmental change. Their anatomy, behavior, and physiology are tailored for survival in some of the harshest landscapes on Earth. Yet, their continued existence depends heavily on human awareness and action. If there's one thing we take from today's talk, let it be this: even nature's janitors deserve our deepest respect. Without them, ecosystems, particularly fragile ones like deserts, would fall apart much faster than we might expect.
That is the end of Section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Please make sure you have transferred all your answers to the answer sheet correctly. The listening test is now over. You may now proceed to the reading section.